guys on offense. But, they're not going for a running back. If they could find a big-time wide receiver, I think that'd be great, but I wouldn't do it in the first round. They definitely could use to add an offensive lineman or two. So I could see the Rams taking a quarterback now that we're talking about it.
They did say that they wanted to bring in competition.
Yeah, they're never going to say Sam Bradford's not their guy.
Right. But they went so far as to say to consult him about the hiring of Cignetti. So it leads me to believe that unless they come away with somebody, and I don't see any names in free agency that wow anybody, Josh McCown looks like he's going to be off the market soon after his visit to Buffalo. He left without a contract, but word on the street is that they really liked him, really wanted him. Aaron Kromer is their offensive line coach now, so he's familiar with him. So it remains to be seen. But
well, here's the thing: wherever it was that the Bills and McCown left it, assuming there was any talk of money and actual dollar figures there, they know now where the other party is, and wherever the Bills are, the belief from McCown's going to be it can only go up from there.
Yeah.
So why not wait, see what happens in free agency? Then they'll know if either they've got the best deal on the table from the Bills or they don't.
Okay.
McCown's 35. I mean, he's playing for as much money as he can.
Right.
This isn't about being on a winner.
Right. No, agreed. So getting back to Peyton Manning, last year, while the Broncos offense may not have been top 3 like everybody, would assume with Peyton there, he still rated very well on deep balls. And I think the emergence of C.J. Anderson, and again, I know it's a different coach, different scheme, but you think of where Kubiak was before, and some guy, Arian Foster, seemed to do pretty well in his scheme. So if it is indeed going to be a more, I don't want to say focused, but more run-oriented offense to keep defenses honest, I think that would benefit Peyton in this stage of his career, no?
Well, not just that.
Is he going to be up for that, though?
What's that?
Is Peyton going to be game for that, though? Look at Marino. They tried to do that when Jimmy Johnson came aboard, and Marino didn't want anything to do with that. He was the thrower. He was the focal point of the team. Is Peyton going to be okay with being more run-oriented than what they have been?
I don't know. Peyton doesn't seem like he's all ego to me.
It's not really ego as much as it's competitiveness. Being a competitor, he is one of the greatest competitors in professional sports. And it's tough to think that he's not going to want to be, if they call a run play, as much as he audibles, you can't assume if he sees something that he thinks is going to be there, he's not going to audible out of the run to try to make the pass. So to me, I just don't know if he's going to be okay with not being the focal point of the offense as much as he has been.
I think Peyton Manning will be absolutely fine with it. What should happen is the offense should become heavily run-oriented, or at least flow through the running back. So you'll see a lot of screen passes. You'll see a lot of short, wide-out out patterns like we saw with Andre Johnson. And then we're going to see some shots down the field just like we saw with Andre Johnson. The key for the Broncos is this: re-signing Demaryius Thomas. He is a number 1 wide receiver. Mike Kubiak's offense requires a number 1 wide receiver, and that's exactly what they need. And if they could wrap him up, somehow get Julius Thomas back, this offense will continue to be humming.
I agree. I was thinking to myself today that there's a couple positions that you can't compensate for if you don't have a top-notch guy. One of those obviously is quarterback. And on offense, I think the only other irreplaceable position on an offense is the X receiver, the big long body with the speed to go deep. You know what I mean? Like Des Bryant in Dallas. Those guys don't come around that often. A legit X receiver like Calvin Johnson. And if you miss that, there's no real way to make up for it. If you have a bad running back, if you've got a good offensive line, you can make a mediocre running back look good. If you've got a weak link on the offensive line, you can massage your protection schemes to kind of try to cover that up a little bit. But if you can't throw the ball and you don't have that legit deep threat, I don't think you can compensate for that.
Or you could be a team like New England who had a solid tight end and some really good slot receivers.
Yeah, they out-coached the hell out of everybody, but by a 2 tight end set that no one saw coming.
Exactly.
I don't know. It was just my take.
Point taken.
Point taken. The silence is deafening. All right. The other point that I wanted to talk about before we go to break, just kind of hash out. Do you guys think Jameis Winston should throw at the combine? I mean, everyone says he's got everything to lose by throwing, but if you're that good, I don't see what you're scared of. I don't know. You guys, what do you think?
I think he should. I think the combine is very important for him in a couple of reasons. One is, of course, the interviews, because of all of his issues off the field. You know, a lot of teams, they say is make or break when he sits down and talks to the coaching staff and whatnot, so that's huge. But if you look at last year, what happened with Teddy Bridgewater, he decided not to throw at the combine because he wanted to throw at his pro day, which ended up being a disaster. I think Winston, with all of his issues, and now there were pictures of him with a belly and everyone says he's fat, even though it's probably doctored, I think he has a lot to prove in every way. And for him not to throw at the combine, I think would be a big mistake. Because I don't like the whole thing where they're like, well, you're not throwing to your receivers that you know. And, well, you need to start learning how to throw to people that you don't have that much of a relationship with. Because especially if he goes to somewhere like Tampa, he's going to be starting right away. You need to be able to work with people in a short amount of time. Get a young guy that's a receiver and be like, hey, let's do this. If you can't do that, I think that's a leadership issue, in my opinion.
I think that's the absolute worst advice to give Jameis Winston. He does not throw at the combine. He is absolutely going to have time to work with his wide receivers on whatever team drafts him. He'll have weeks to do it. He'll not walk and start any football game without having practice with his wide receivers. And I see absolutely no reason to throw to guys he's never thrown to before in just an unfriendly environment. Go ahead and have your pro day. Even if you botch that up, he's still going to get a private workout with any teams that are interested in drafting him. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to work him out, and they're going to work out Marcus Mariota, and they're going to be able to make some decision as to which one of these guys they're going to go with. Besides that, even as Dan said the other night on Wednesday night, I mean, the regional scout knows Jameis Winston inside and out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, they're in the same state.
Right.
So who's kidding who? Well, he doesn't need to do it. Well, he just doesn't need to do it. I would if Jameis Winston's agent tells him to work out at the combine, I would fire him right on the spot.
I would say that he's got nothing to lose that way because if he misfires, if he throws a couple incompletions, they already know him. It's like I don't see what he's got to hide.
Exactly. To me, I think if you don't throw at the combine, it's just you saying that you're I don't know. I just think all the players should give their all at the combine. That's what it's there for. It's there to showcase your abilities.
That is you guys talking as fans. You guys are not even looking at this from the player's perspective or the agent's perspective or even the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' perspective. The Buccaneers don't need this. The Jets don't need it. Name another team that might be interested in him. Any of those teams. None of them need it.
If they don't need it, then what does he have to lose by not doing it? Other than getting bad press by people saying,
that is the worst circular logic I've ever heard in my life. Come on.
I hear what you're saying, Jim. I just think that if you're a thrower, you're a quarterback, then you can do it no matter what. And these guys know, like if it's a timing issue, that they know that you're not used to throwing to these guys. You got nothing to lose. Mark Brunell brought up a great point on NFL Insiders today, is that when I keep calling him Omar, when Gus Bradley, the head coach of the Jaguars, was taking Blake Bortles, they asked him, well, what about Bortles did you like? He goes, I was really impressed that he was willing to throw at the combine. So again,
I was too. Winston, he took a huge chance.
Absolutely. But having that kind of...
And it didn't do him any good.
No.
There was nothing about him throwing at the combine that made the Jaguars suddenly go, oh, he's our guy.
You're right.
Because he threw at the combine.
No, that's not true. Part of the reason that Bradley said he was intrigued or turned on to him was the fact that he was willing to throw. Now, Winston is already being pumped up as the clear-cut number one, so I understand the argument that he's got everything to lose and nothing to gain by throwing. It's a business decision. But if I'm a football coach, I want the guy that's willing to go out there and throw it. Not that the Bucs are not going to take Winston if he doesn't throw. That's not what I'm saying whatsoever. I just don't see what the big deal is about him throwing. He should just go out there and let it rip.
The only reason you say you don't see what the big deal is. If I'm an agent and Winston, I'm also sitting there thinking to myself, if he has a bad combine and he has a bad pro day, then what does that say? Now he's got 2 bad things in a row. The more bad it is, the more bad things that happen, the more bad it actually is. And as an agent, I would advise my client against that. You want to do it one time under controlled circumstances. If something goes wrong there, figure out a way to explain it. And then obviously the thing that will make or break him will be his private workout with the team.
Right. No, and I get it. It's a business decision. I'm just talking.
But so that's my point is they shouldn't even require it of these guys. In fact, they shouldn't even require the pro day. Why don't you just go work them out?
Well, why do you need the pro day at all? If like you said, the regional scout knows them so well, why is it even needed? Like the combine is for those middle ground.
If anything, to me, it's needed because this is an opportunity to see how he works with guys that he's practiced with before.
Yeah, well, if you know what he's capable of in a game situation, you look at the combine workout warriors, the infamous Mike Mamula example that's thrown out there. The guys that get all the metrics but can't play a lick in the league. If you already know who you want, then what's the point of having a pro day at all? And once you just
well, here's the obvious reason of having a pro day is to get everybody on the same page. You would be amazed at how many guys show up and their previous reported height from college is 2 inches off. How many guys their previous reported weight is 20 pounds off? How many guys their reported 40 time is 0.3 tenths of a second faster than what they're doing at the combine? And even though you might say, oh, it's only just 0.3, it matters depending on the position on the field. This is an opportunity for everybody to equalize and play from the same foundation, the same information. That is the biggest reason why they do this. You also want to see what players have lost weight, put on weight, all those sorts of things.
And I agree, and that's why I think all players should if you're going into the draft, and if all these players have to do it, every player should have to go to the combine and do their position. I don't
if that
see
was
why
it,
there's a special. You have these guys that are like, oh, well, he doesn't have to, though, because, he's going to go. No. If you're going to go to the combine, and if all drafted players need to go to the combine to work out 4 teams, 4 scouts, and whatnot, and it has become as much of a fan thing now because now it's televised 24/7. Everybody sees it. And it's something where I still think if you're a quarterback, I don't give a damn if you're going to be first-round pick or not. Go out there and be a quarterback. Don't just run the 40 and be like, all right, I'm done. Do something to show your abilities because I think if you blow it, that also shows a big issue outside of not just the combine, but it could be something else. Well, you need to be able to have the mindset to be able to do multiple things like a combine, like a pro day, without just collapsing and saying, oh, well, I had a bad day for whatever reason.
You could say that about any other position except quarterback. It just doesn't matter for that position.
Okay. Good debate. Good debate. Let's take a quick break and cool our jets. No pun intended. Yeah. Oh boy, Jim's roaring. Time for break. When we come back, it's off-season colonoscopy time with the Atlanta Falcons. You're under the doctor. I don't even know where I'm going with that. We'll just go to break.
I don't know where you're going
yeah, you listen to 87 Sports Fans live on Late Night Sports Radio.